Welcome, Ghost, back to Bullet Catcher Gaming. I'm joined by Sandy, and we have been promising to go through your feedback based on the what you want to see in the next game videos. Now, the first one we're looking at is weapons that you asked for. A lot of people brought up gunsmith details in there as well, which obviously we're going to have a gunsmith one to go through also. So we're going to just go through some of the comments. Might not read them all, because some of them are repeats, but we will try and get through as many as possible. So welcome to Sandy. We've got a Discord, links in the description below. If you'd like to hit the like and subscribe, please do. That would be great. And please comment on any of these videos, and then when we do these feedbacks, we can read your ones too. Right, let's get into it. Okay then, Sandy, so let's go through these comments. Obviously, thank you everyone who did comment on these. It means that we have the opportunity to go through and have a look. Obviously, we can't read every single comment because the video will go on for hours and hours and hours. But we will go through some of the ones. Some people were just saying things that obviously agreeing with us and stuff, which is great. We really appreciate that feedback. But what we're trying to do is look at the comments where people have come up with perhaps alternate ideas or different things. As I said at the beginning, this is the weapons that we want in games. So a lot of people brought up gunsmith ideas, even though we will be doing feedback for the gunsmith video as well. But we thought we'd start with this one. So I'm going to go straight into this one here. So by Morad, where he talks about the correction of the ballistics, being able to snipe at 1 kilometer, subsonic and explosive rounds, even for the gunsmith, being able to tweak your gun for specific purpose. 100%. And there's many people that have mentioned about the ballistics in the game over and over again since the beginning of it, even back in Wildlands, which, to be fair, they were better. But the sniping distances is a major issue in Breakpoint. And Morajak brings up a great point there. I mean, it is crazy, isn't it, Sandy, that you can't really snipe. I think my longest confirmed hit was 840.
Yeah, and I mean that was probably on the Azrael for Breakpoint, because that's the only way you can do the type of shots.
Yeah,
I think for most people, getting an actual confirmed kill with a rifle after 550 meters is almost impossible, which for a sniper rifle seems almost pointless.
Yeah, I agree. So Craig Curry is saying, he's been saying since 2002 for Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six, the weapons, tactics, locations should reflect real world or real near potential conflicts. Get rid of the laser warrior crap. Lots of people say this. My personal opinion is I agree with that 100%. I don't mind certain futuristic elements put in it. I don't like the drones that we had in Breakpoint. I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
But I don't mind gear perhaps being incorporated that could be being used. Do you know what I mean? Stuff that's maybe 10 years, 15 years away from being in the public conscious, but I'm okay with that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you look at another franchise, if you look at Call of Duty, they done the same thing. They went too far futuristic, and it backfired. People with shooters like this, realistic military shooters, people want something they can relate to. They want something that feels like it could be happening now or in the very near future.
Exactly. I've got to give Ghost Island Thunder a shout out here, because he talks about some of the weapons that we mentioned in that video. And obviously he's talking about the XMA, OICW, things like that, and about the fact that they're prototype weapons. And this is the thing. I think prototype weapons are a good way of putting interesting variants in the game. So I'm all up for prototypes being added into the game. It doesn't really matter. You can come up with an interesting story. I mean, there could be a prototype weapon factory or something. Could be anything. Do you know what I mean? You can come up with a story to fit those in. It just needs a little bit of good storytelling. But 100%, I've got no issues with things like that. That was a good comment.
especially the XM8, because that actually went. People might not realise this, but the XM8 actually went into service with a couple of foreign nations, and it still is in service now.
They did. I'm trying to
It's
remember.
AV
Was it one of the Korean countries? Like, was it?
It's definitely somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I can't remember which one, but I remember reading that they. I think they were still using them when I looked it up.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So Marcus Elig, he makes a great point because he basically says most of the guns feel the same, and Gunsmith should make the difference. Long barrel versus short barrel, which we mentioned, optics, subsight ammunition, things like that, weapon damage. They don't really work within the game, and I have to agree with him to a certain extent. There are some weapons that feel different, but a lot of them, if you were using a lot of the M4 platform guns can feel similar, and I think some of the AK guns can feel similar. It just needs to be implemented better, doesn't it? We've said this, the Gunsmith, and we'll cover this more in the Gunsmith video. But it just needs implementation better. There's no reason. The gun sounds, for example, things like that. To me, they're easy to be fixed. Long barrel versus short barrel, that should be an easy fix. I don't see why that should be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there should be different barrel variations. It shouldn't just be long and short. Or I believe in Breakpoint it was standard and short. And each variation of the barrel length should add a bit more distance and a bit more accuracy. It should be incremental, and that feels like it should be fairly simple.
Yeah, I agree. Shogun the Imperial has mentioned a couple of interesting things about having kill house and times, things like that. I'm not against that as such, but obviously you'd have to look at how many things they're implementing into a game. It would end up making them take about 7 years to make, but I'm not against it.
Yeah.
Robert Christensen's talking about options for role playing. This isn't really to do with the weapons, but obviously this is what people have been talking about. He's talking about adjusting the movement speed, which is what we've talked about before. More densely civilian population. This is very much about the overall game and gameplay. And to be honest, if you look at the things that he's put in here about attaching flashlights and things like that, this is stuff that, this is no disrespect whatsoever, Robert. This is stuff that we all want. Pretty much everything you've put here is things that we've been talking about for a long time and the community has. So great point there from Robert, 100%. But T-Faust 24 is talking about more Swiss Arms models, but absolutely 100%. And this in the Gunsmith video, we'll talk about the fact a bit more that we said that we shouldn't have individual blueprints. We found that really important. No more individual blueprints for variants. There should be one for an M4 platform, and then you create the one you want. I think that has to be the way forward.
Yeah. On that, saying that, so if you have one blueprint, what that actually does is then it actually opens up the game to having more different actual weapons as variants. You can then look at going down the SIG models of the different AK variants, or, the G3 line and stuff like that. That will open so many things up by having just one base weapon that you can then modify yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Wyatt Delamere has mentioned about what you brought up before about the nation-specific packs that were in the survey. And the fact that you could utilize weapons from a specific nation when they come in, and he's talking about some of the Canadian weapons here. That is such an excellent idea. You mentioned that, like I said, in the survey. And for me, it's a great way of bringing in new weapons. There's a really good comment there from Wyatt.
I know people hate to hear this as well, but this works both ways. It works for us and it works for Ubisoft. Because every time Ubisoft creates a new pack, it's something that they theoretically put in the store, and it's up to you whether you buy it or not. So it makes them money, but it's up to you whether or not you want the American pack or the Russian pack or the British pack, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So Cameron Novi has made a brilliant point here in talking about what I was saying a minute ago. Basically, if you have a good gunsmith, you don't need a ton of guns in the game. You just need the platform to build off it. It's
Yeah,
one to me. It's almost you could put that on a T-shirt, and send it to Ubisoft. That's the idea. That to me,
yeah,
that's the idea. That's the way forward. We don't actually need hundreds and hundreds of guns. We just need
yeah. I mean,
the platforms to build them from.
when you think that Breakpoint's got 23 variants just of the M4, that's like it's massively gamming up the UI menu. When you think about it, it's just an M4 at the end of the day.
Exactly. And this Justin also says about the fact that obviously you just need to be able to use all scopes with all weapons, and be able to use red dots on pistols. So basically what we said before, if it's got a rail,
Yeah,
you should be able to do whatever you want to do with it.
yeah,
I 100% agree with that. We've got Seb here talking about specific weapons that he wants, the R5 back from Wildlands, M4 Sniper, stuff like that. Yeah, I 100% agree. There's weapons from Wildlands that should definitely have been in there. Same as Matt Gage is saying about a true Mark 12.
but
Yeah, 100%. Mark Michaud here is saying, obviously, make a gunsmith more in line with Modern Warfare 2019. I like the gunsmith in Modern Warfare. I like the look of what the gunsmith's going to be in the new Modern Warfare as well. That looks interesting. Obviously, he's talking about weapons here that we brought up in our video that would be added as well. The MCX spear, things like that. People have come up with some really good suggestions for weapons that they'd like to see. And obviously, they do get a lot of people that say they want to see more non-M4 platform guns. And I'm fine with that 100%. It's just whenever we do, surveys or video feedback, it tends to be those weapons that people want to see more of. And you can understand why at the same time. It makes sense. Someone is saying about...
I was going to say, I think quickly on the weapons one though, I think a lot it depends on the region that the next game's going to take place in. And how you role play, and if you've got a better option to role play as a different country, it might not always be the M4 that comes at top.
No, I agree. Yeah, it might not be. That's a really key thing, and we're going to get to that on some future videos of things that we were talking about before we started recording this. But I do want to, and I really apologise if I butcher this name, fella. Really, really apologise. It's Slawomir. I'm really sorry. I don't know even where to start with your surname. I'm so sorry. But he makes a great point. Obviously, big shout out. He's given us a shout out, but he mentions the M16, which obviously our good friend from the Discord admin, that random guy, will 100% agree with you all day long. M16 needs to be in there.
Yeah.
We even made a video with him about that a few months ago. More people here. Delta N1 talking about the XM8, the M8A1 from Black Ops 2. Yeah, great. They're awesome. We've got, once again, Daniel Rainford here is talking about more customization for them, flashlights, things like that. Yeah, 100%. Azrael talking about the MCX and spears, things like that. More people just really agreeing with the stuff that we'd mentioned in that video. More stuff, XM8, Apollo Patriot, he loves talking about the XM8. We know he badly wants this one. And obviously the LVOAC, which I loved personally in Wildlands, would love to see that. The L119A2, that's a weapon that we have been pushing very hard for.
Very hard,
in videos, and personally I have been trying to push that behind the scenes to get that included. But as you can see here, Block 2, we've mentioned that one in videos before. MCX is coming up again here from Thomas Tadros. Such excellent comments here. That one previously from Ewan. Neo Brutalist here saying Ghost Recon to kind of go back to what Advanced Warfighter was doing. Modelling the ghosts around Specialist Green Beret that wear kits from Land Warrior program. are very specific in the way that he's saying that these things are kitted out for specific units. And that's how they did them then, which is very different, obviously, to how it's been done since that game. But he does make a good point, and I'm sure there's a way of utilising both ways of doing things. It just needs a way of figuring it out. More here from Ryan, MCX and Scars and the MK12, Mark 12, sorry. More Mark 12. People desperately want to see that. That's from Cosmo. People saying bring back the Gunsmith from Future Soldier, but overhauled to the extreme when you can turn one weapon into another, like Cold War. That was from Prism Drone. Well, what do you make of that?
I mean, I've had a look at the Future Soldier Gunsmith, and it does make a lot of sense the way for what people want. You bring up the base weapon, you can change the uppers, you can change pretty much everything that you want to change to make it in a different weapon. And I think people would be, as long as they expanded on it and gave a bit more option, I think, people would be happy with that.
Yeah, agree. So we've got Askia Walkerlier saying about fully customized platforms, which we were talking about. Maverick Hilo Pilot saying, why didn't they add the G3? We've seen that comment a few times over the last few years, to be honest. Obviously, Ram talking about weapons here that he would like in the game, and also been able to add red dots on pistols. Andrew P here saying about the modularization potential for base armor-light rifle platform, having them split into separate weapons, exactly what we've been saying. And gun wraps. David Oliveira here saying about, they should be able to put gun wraps on any gun. That's a really important one. We've talked about that, haven't we? A few times. Why can't you? I mean, okay, it might be a little bit of extra work for a developer kind of thing, but can't be a huge amount of work. And if they do it from the get-go, when they're designing these weapons and have them ready to go, I don't see what the problem is. 100%.
No, I agree.
We've got Shogun the Imperial again, someone talking about Glocks. Once again, we know why we're not going to get a Glock, but why can't they just have it as a Glock and just call it something else?
You say that, but Ghost Recon's had an actual Glock in it before. So they've, at one point or another, they've had that licensing. So why can they not go back and look at it again? I can't remember which one it was, but one had a Glock 18C.
I think I remember reading that they used to allow it, but they don't anymore. I'm sure I read that somewhere when we were doing research.
I think the problem for a while was that, if I remember correctly, Glock had a stipulation that it could only be used with the good guys, and that's for movies and TV as well. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So we've got so many comments here. Like I said, can't go through them all because we will be here forever. But some really good ones here from Frank, Mr. Squishy Boots, who he talks about parts breaking. That's a really interesting one. Love that one. You have to go and pick up parts for weapons because they could break. I do like that, but obviously it could have the potential to frustrate the hell out of people if it wasn't done right. And it keeps breaking all the time. People would go crazy. But I do love the idea of that. Really good. We've got Blue Z here talking about exactly what we were talking about earlier. We've got someone talking about armored vehicles from Brody Austin, but obviously we'll get into that more in the vehicle feedback. So we've got Cursed Omen 46. He's saying that Rebels should have civilian versions of rifles and not military versions, which I like. That's a good idea. And the main military rifle-based gun and can adapt this by allowing through materials to collect and make long or short barrels. Kind of what we were talking about earlier. But I do like that. That's a really good idea to keep it realistic. Again, I think that just depends on the location you're in, though, because most countries outside America don't have that, that freedom on civilian rifles. So that might be a bit harder to implement, but I see where he's going with it, though. It
Yeah,
definitely makes sense.
100%. We've got Wallace McGarity, Spartan Games, and Nathaniel Lopes here, talking about customization, kind of what we've gone over, but maybe adding, like we mentioned before, Vietnam packs and things like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Tripp saying about more weapons, the new Sig Spear. To me, that if that's not in the game, there's a serious issue. It has to be in the new game. It must be in the new game. It would just be bizarre to me if it wasn't in there. Unless, of course, the game was set in 1982 or something, then okay, it doesn't fit. But if it's set now or in the future, it has to be there. So, more things about here, but people were just asking for. Mechanics and gore taking place in different places, which we'll get into in another video. That was Elvia Backer there. We've got Dylan Daniels about the Galil Ace. 100%. More XM8. So many people want the XM8. That was Taco there. And Fuss 149 Hammer is saying what he'd like to see at the end of bullet sponge enemies too. After what's the point of a 100-round mag of an LMG if the goon you're shooting just shrugs off the entire mag unless you hit him twice in the head? I kind of get where he's coming from there.
Realistic injury models, so that if he gets shot in the arm, he might drop his rifle and he'll go his pistol. If he gets shot in the leg, he'll start to limp. Just stuff that makes it feel like the enemy's actually real.
Yeah, no, agree.
Just take 100 rounds.
Absolutely. We got a JP Farber, Swipperone 1975, Vinnie Wally talking about, on Scooter 66, talking about weapons that they want in the game. Looking through those lists here, I mean, I'm not going to turn any of those down, to be honest. Let's just have them all. So P-Fiction 24, I want RPGs, specifically the RPGs from an enemy I killed, so I can fire off a few rounds. This is something we discussed before about the weapons being picked up off the heavies. Why can't you pick up their weapons? Why can't we pick up an RPG? It doesn't make sense. You can pick up anything else, so why can't you pick up the RPG?
Exactly.
That's something that, once again, it's not massively realism breaking, but it's frustrating, and I don't know why they can't have it. They've built the model for it. It's there. It shoots. Why can't you pick it up?
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got Fincher talking about what we said earlier, more futuristic designs or prototypes. Yeah, as long as it's done well. And obviously just Ryan talking about some of those weapons that we just mentioned, about ballistics and things like that. Actually, he goes on to obviously say, he's hoping that the models will be remade. Well, I agree with that. I don't want to see any weapons that the gun modeling. I want to see all new gun modeling. I'm hoping it will have a new engine. So we don't want to see any repeats with vehicles, anything. I don't want to see it anymore. I want to see everything built from scratch.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't mind if they take their time with it. We basically Eagle Eye saying about any gun, any attachment, what we were saying. And No Rage Quitter saying, I'm glad the LVOA is on the list. And me too. I just want the guns to sound like they should do. A nice little list here from Obi-Wan Kenobi. People talking about incendiary rounds here, armor-piercing rounds, which we mentioned. Another really important one. Notorious BC, as long as Gunsmith is better. And AI teammates given the option of calling indirect in fire. Well, we'll go into that on the teammates video. Ghostly Promenade, Daniel Defense, DD M4 version 7 pistol variant. Well, to be honest with you, I'd just like to see them get the license for Daniel Defense and use all of their parts for the weapons. That would make a lot of people very happy.
Exactly.
But here's a really interesting one. Tame Smiles, a slightly toned down or maybe a more in-depth gunsmith system. So he's breaking the two down, saying toned down. I think what he means is not so many weapons, perhaps. I think that's what he's trying to say again, but a
Yeah.
more
No,
in-depth gunsmith to make your own, perhaps. I think that's kind of what he means.
yeah. I mean, my take on that is obviously if you look again at the M4, instead of having, so many different variants, if you have a baseline M4 and then you can change the upper receiver, you can change the barrel length, you can change the handguard and all that type of stuff. The more in depth you make the gunsmith, the more variants that people can make on their own.
Yeah, 100%. IW is talking about he'd like to see a proper modern on M4, not just the basic Delta ring with the CAS RAS rail, fixed front sight, and an A2 grip, but something modern like a Block 2. He makes some really interesting points here. And I just suddenly realised that I've been recording the whole time with my fan on. Is that... I don't know if you can pick that up. Probably. It probably sounds terrible. Oh, okay. Well, I've been recording my fan on because it is very warm. So if that's been annoying everyone while you've been listening, apologies. I forgot to turn it off. But it's very warm. Really excellent points here when he's talking about weapons and stuff. Oh, a great comment from IW. Spec Jack talking about other weapons again. Someone obviously here saying about fully customized once again. That's Kurto 417. More kind of weapon generalization. Dr. Wraithforce 2077. A Tavor X95 is its base model. We had a Tavor in Breakpoint, but it was a custom variant. So that's interesting. That's an interesting point. What he's saying is you've said this before, Sandy. Some of the weapons that we had in Breakpoint weren't the real versions, were they?
Yeah. Well, the biggest one that I went on about for ages was the L85 A2C. And I always said it was an airsoft version, but it did eventually turn out there was a real life version of that just never went into service. So,
No.
yeah. Sometimes I don't know if it's just a licensing thing where they've changed things slightly just to get around it, but
I don't understand it because they're still trying to make out that it is the weapon. So surely that would get them in trouble with the licensing if they didn't have it. I don't really get that. Unless they're told you can have it, but you have to change it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an odd one. John Perryman, the M16, of course, and the M249 saw. Chris Adams talking about the SIG MCX Rattler he's putting down here. Oh, yes, please. And the Knights Armament SR platform. Yes, please. We'll have both of those. The PSG 1 here from Tim Grass. 100%. And he mentions a couple of a nice long list of other awesome weapons that we could do with. This is an interesting one. Mr. Trip 666. He put a post up on Reddit, and lots of people saying, "What's the point? Ubisoft will never listen." They might not listen, but without giving too much away, I know they have listened in the past to certain things. And the difference being is the reason why we're going through this now is because we have something unique. We believe we know that they're making a new game, and it's probably quite a way away off, which means they are still in fairly early development for it, which means doing guns and gunsmith and stuff is probably things that they have either just started working on or maybe are about to start working on. So giving this feedback now is when we absolutely must give this feedback. So, people will always... I understand why people were saying things like that, totally. But if we don't try... I mean, if we try really hard for a year and push this information forward and not one single thing that we've said is in there, then fair play. I'll put my hands up and go, I officially give up. Because we've really tried. And that's what we're trying to do with these videos. We're trying to gauge what people want and listen to people. So keep the comments coming in any video and we'll always read them. Sometimes I'm late on replying. Sometimes it's been recently I haven't had a chance to reply to everything, which I apologize for. Work's crazy. But they all get read and we will cover them in videos like this. So more M16 here from Jesse de France. The Mark 18. Yes, 100% Mark 18. We want the Wildlands version, not the nasty Breakpoint version, which wasn't really a Mark 18. Full gunsmith all the way here from Alfath Cirrus, and he talks about some of the weapons that we've mentioned already. course, the OICW 100% needs to be in there. Oh, and there's that random guy, M16. But are we saying this isn't about an M16?
Which is a rare one for him.
I know, yeah, but the M8, a staple weapon for Ghost Recon 2, yeah, 100%. Someone mentioned that earlier. The G95K here from Benjamin Blumchen, yeah, 100%. Apollo's back with his XM8 again. He desperately wants his XM8. We've got Roboir, Future Soldier customizations, ground branch style. Yes, I've had a look, and that is a great way to customize on that game. They can learn lessons from that 100%. Chris Addis talks about the C8 DeMarco. Yes, I know a lot of people want that. A lot of Canadians out there would love to see that weapon. Nice list there. And obviously Mike Bronkamp is talking about a list of new real weapons like the HK 566, which I believe we put in the video. I'm sure we did. More weapons here, 365 Black with the Chris Vector. Yes, the Chris Vector, 100%. Everyone, I think, wants that. And, of course, the SIG M18. More rifles here from Shogun the Imperial, with making sure that obviously we've got items like Magpul stock is more comfortable. Well, let's make sure that we have the option of being able to use a Magpul stock.
Yeah.
Breaking it down, like we said, in, we want to see lots of different makes. Go out to these big makes. Let's get them involved. We've got Dalton Stokes here. I have zero interest if it's non-military firearms. Well, that's absolutely fair enough. And you... having Terran competition rifles when so many other weapons seems like wasted effort. I get that. I totally get that. And that is 100% my fault, Dalton, because I love that Terran tactical gun. And so I shoved it in there. I literally forced that one on Sandy when we were going through our list. I was like, that has to be in there because I love it.
And I think it speaks to the whole John Wick style of things as well. There is people that want to do that style of look, or that look, if you know what I mean.
100%. So I think we're getting on for nearly half an hour. So let's go through a few more here. MR73, from Laramie Frank. The Hind is saying about loot rarity. Reading through this comment, just no loot at all for me, to be honest. I would prefer that. People here like Fabian agreeing with what we were kind of putting together. Same as Simon here. He's asking why didn't we include the FN foul. Sorry about that. It is on the list somewhere. There is a foul on a list in one of our videos. I can guarantee it. Can't remember which one, but it is. So we've got the glasses. He's talking about the grease gun. He wants to go old school. Which I don't mind having a few old weapons. It could work if the story, if it's set in. I'm going to use Sweden because I just saw Thundersnapper talking about Swedish military. So let's say the game was set in Sweden, and it was set in 2050. I'm not sure a grease gun would fit into the story. But if it was set in
1980s
France, and it was in the 1980s, you could put one in there. I mean, to be honest, as long as it's written well, you could shove anything in you want, really. So I'm talking rubbish. So AK5, AK5C, for Belgian Army, it's Thunder Snapper. Full Gunsmith, False Catalyst is saying, can lower and can be like the base gun, which is kind of what we were saying, swap everything over. Napalm Bonafart, which is definitely one of the greatest names ever. Let's just get that out of the way. He's saying about having attack modded but standardized Western nation weapon like AR-15, AR-18, Taver AUG for bullpups. And then Rebels Militia should have standard AK, AK-74s, etc. It's something that we talked about a year or so ago when I, back when Jeremy was, still with us, where we talked about this, and we said that I like the idea, and it's very much a movie thing, where you have your bad guys using one type of weapons and your good guys using another type of weapons. And this goes back to why people like an M4 AR-15, AR-18 platform. because they see that as being the good guy guns. And that's why people want more of them. And let's be honest, if you're from a kind of westernized nation at the very least, and that's not saying that if you're not from a westernized nation that you're a villain, I'm not saying that, but a lot of people that buy this game, I imagine probably 80%, 90% of people that are buying this game probably are, and they want to see their nations represented in some way, so they want to see those platforms. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
XM8 here from God Emperor Forever, and Gorilla in the Mist. There's some awesome names on here. Going through some of the others here. The Beowulf 50 cal AR-15. The actual deployable bipods from Sebastian Bloch. Yeah, we all want that, dude. 100%. Nigel,
I want it, but it's a double-edged sword.
It could
because
be.
I mean, it's probably going to have to be like. It's got a motion you're going to have to do that you probably not going to be able to stop. And if you're in the middle of a firefight and you hit that button, it's going to get annoying really fast.
Yeah, 100%. Nigel Thornberry, just going off of what we just said, why do Ubisoft keep putting guns in we can barely customize? Good point, but he also talks about using compound bows, tomahawks, things like that. Yeah, I've heard multiple people say that. Don't get me wrong, they're not at the top of my agenda for things, but I would not complain if they were there.
End-game content.
Yeah, exactly. DLC stuff, 100%.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. Uplink X, I just want good gameplay. Let's hope the next Ghost Recon game is nothing like Breakpoint. There's great things about Breakpoint, but there's just a lot of negatives too.
Yeah.
If the finished product was what came out at the beginning, and then we were getting DLC and all the rest of it on top of what we got, I think we'd be discussing Breakpoint very differently. 100%. So we've still got loads more comments here, so we're going to be going on forever. So apologies if I do miss some out. We've got a lot of people talking about different variants again. SOTMod Block 2 M4A1, nice, from Zero Fox Given. There's about AI teammates. We'll come back to that comment, Oni. M1 Garand, we're just talking about if it fits. M16, of course, more people wanting that. Mark Gordon saying about bipods again. And no Russian weapons. They're all boring. See, we get a lot of people saying they want more. It's interesting. But then yet they never score high in any of our surveys, which is always interesting. Unless people who want them just don't do the survey, of course. M16 again from Legendary. Stuff that's not hidden behind missions to fight stupid robots online from Voyager Overland. 100% agree. I also don't think that you should be putting anything in PvP because some people don't want to play it.
Exactly.
It doesn't seem fair to me. Make it all within the main game. It doesn't seem fair to me to do that. Where are we? Museum Klaslekanova, the real ones working as original weapons and looking like those. I think he's talking about what we put in the video there. Phoenix Ghost 47 is talking about some other awesome weapons that he wants. New mechanics from, I can't pronounce that, so apologies, such as planning and recon. 100%. 100%. We agree with that, but this is probably not a video to go into that. More Canadian weapons here from Jason. Ellie's talking about more weapons. All the Dave Hathaway weapons in current use by all military. Beskar armor, nice name. Talks about more weapons as well. All standard guns from Wildlands and Breakpoint, etc. From Libertarian 79, agree. Saber 6 says about all of the above with mountain slings. No magical magnets. 100% agree with that one. He actually made some really good, interesting points here about barrel length and the short rail system, which we've kind of covered, and we'll cover more in the Gunsmith video. But yeah, M200 intervention, which you talked about, yes, 100% we need that back in Ghost Recon Pixel Powder. Stabby McStabs Gaming, here's the list could drop here as a nightmare level content for Ubisoft. Yes, possibly, but if we don't do it, then if they come and give us even if we get 5 of the weapons that we brought up, at least we've done something. If we don't do it and they give us a whole list of guns that nobody's asked for, what's the point? Mad Manic Pain, lovely topic. Mad Mountain, what a legend. Get rid of Gunsmith, allow players to access all weapons and modifications from the start. I wouldn't be against it, to be honest. Not at all. Sambro is everything in the USA is currently using for the military, current small arms, licensing is hard and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that. We will go over more of that in the Gunsmith video. Come off a Navy SEAL franchise from Robert Farbo. Yeah, interesting one. More guns here from Corbin Grist and from the Trashy Pistache. Great name. Shogun's back. He's loving his ideas on this one. More fire. Glock. Yeah, we've gone through that. JD Rex. Gun list. Yeah, his gun list here is just talking about our ones and some extra ones that we could have in there. Ukrainian weapons. I'm sure they would sell very well from Carol Gill. 100%. BFG 50A. Awesome. Let's do that. Why are Ubisoft making the weapons so big? I agree. There are some weapons in the game that look too big to me. They look massive. Yeah, I agree with that one. The M200, yeah, which we mentioned. M60 Pig, we talked about that in a previous one. Arjun, a nice one. As long as my ACR is in it, I'm in from Sierra Ocelot. Well, I agree because it's one of my favourite weapons. XM8 Apollo again. So suppressible module guns, bring all guns from Wildlands. We're not trying to rush through all of these, but obviously the video's getting very long now and we're getting a lot of comments that are similar to the ones above. But as you can see, all your names here, thank you so much for commenting. Canted sights by Tactical Swerve. Yes, we've mentioned that. 100% we need that. We've got more about the Honey Badger, Sig Sauer from Walter Knoll. VDHS Disc 2, I think we talked about that previously on a video last year. The greatest name ever in the history of YouTube names, G.I. Joe. I'm buying a Diamondback, nice. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that being in the game.
Oh, Mike Hunt. I'm watching how I say that there. He mentions double handguns, so they're potentially doing like akimbo.
I personally would hate that. Absolutely hate that. I don't think it would work.
It wouldn't be accurate.
No, I would hate it, but I wouldn't mind if they put it in there, but you could turn it off. So, you know, then the people that want to use it can use it. But I personally don't want it myself. Whopper fan with some more there. Nuka Image, Tanner Hilton, for example, more excellent. Right, Grandpa Berg. Hang on, William Barr, sorry. Grandpa Hair Sniffer. Okay, we'll go on for that one. Right, it's not a totally good idea for me to be watching this video. Bullet Catcher, you naughty boy. Well, I am a naughty boy. What can I say? So all of the weapons, yeah, more weapons here. As you can see, loads more weapons. M200, all of the guns. So people just going through, agreeing with what we were saying. Add weapons from Aliens and Starship Troopers. Oh, controversial. I don't think people are going to like that one, Fenrir.
Although you did comment on it, to be fair, you did say the pulse rifle could be interesting.
The pulse, yes, because everyone loves the pulse rifle. Come on, we all love the pulse rifle. And if there
especially when you realise, especially when people realise it's actually just based on Thompson submachine gun.
Exactly. We all love it, but do I want it in a realistic military shooter? No, I don't.
Probably not.
No.
Maybe it's endgame content again. It's just something fun to throw at the end.
Or chuck those type of things in if you do a map editor, that it's available in a map editor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. But yeah, all the guns here, up-to-date versions of the guns. Yeah, 50 cals, proper 50 cals. I think that's what Norsk means because we don't have them. So people, comment on a good video. Thank you so much. HK433, fouls again. Someone's put clock. I think they mean Glock. So there you go. That was just a rough kind of go through. As you can see, these videos take quite a while to do. We try and pick up as many comments as we can. If you want us to try and shorten this down a little bit when we go through the next one, we will do our best. But we also want to try and actually discuss some of the things that are brought up. We're going to go through the Gunsmith one next, I think. that one had some amazing comments for ideas of how to improve the Gunsmith. So I want to make sure we talk about those properly. Video's been way too long already. Thank you so much, Sandy, for coming on. Sandy obviously made these videos with me. We're doing more next game videos. The next one we're going to be doing is going to be about the world itself, the game world, about what we could do to utilize and make that great. So keep an eye out for that coming relatively soon. And we're going to be doing more of these feedback videos. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Sandy, for jumping on. He's currently on deployment as well. Look how dedicated he is. Thank you, guys. Take care, and we will see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.